Sometimes I stand in the silence of my own thoughts and wonder what would happen if Christ could stand before us today in this strange world we have built upon our comfort, our fear, and the ancient habit of forgetting. How would his words resonate within those broken spaces of the soul we try to hide even from ourselves? And would we have the courage to hear him, not with our ears, but with our conscience, which we often silence because it speaks too truthfully? What's interesting is that sometimes these words, his words, or perhaps my longing for a better world, appear within me like quiet sentences from a lost gospel written inside the heart. They come like a soft breath in the chest, like a gentle rebuke born not of judgment, but of love that remembers who we were before we forgot. And in those moments I hear something like, "Children of the light, why have you forgotten that everything that breathes is born of the same love? There are no great and small souls. There is only life that my Father has breathed with the same tenderness." These words shake me not with severity, but with that psychoanalytic sharpness that exposes the wounds of our inner division. We who have learned to recognize our traumas but not to heal them, we who unconsciously seek power and control because deep down we are frightened, fragile, uncertain. Sometimes I think that violence toward nature and animal is actually violence toward our own vulnerability, a desperate attempt to avoid facing our own pain. Because somewhere along the path we accepted the lie that love is weakness, that compassion is naivety, that to protect means to deprive ourselves, and yet the soul knows. It knows that the true need is not the survival of the body, but the healing of the heart. The soul resists when we feed ourselves with fear and suffering, because that contradicts our very origin. That resistance sometimes appears as anxiety, as guilt, as the particular feeling we cannot diagnose but sense as a lack of inner peace. Do not blame the one who does not see yet, Christ might say. Heal him with light. And I ask, does our world know how to heal at all? Or has healing become merely a business while compassion grows rare like a whispered prayer in the hearts of a few? Sometimes I feel a primeval sadness move through me when I watch forests. Those green cathedrals of the earth fall beneath our hands, as though we forget that trees were here before us and will remain after us if we allow them to. I hear words. Every forest is a temple, every tree a life-loving priest that purifies the air and heals hearts with silence. It is so simple, and we have made it absurdly complicated. Animals, creatures who laugh and suffer just like us, we call resources, production, material, and each time I hear that language, something inside me shrinks, as if the sacred vibration of life is drowned by mechanical noise, because they are brothers in a different body, teachers of innocence, messengers of wordless kindness. There is an invisible prayer in every animal. Yes, I believe that a prayer for a place under the sun, for a little affection, for a life without pain. And when the knife lifts, the prayer breaks. The earth trembles. Our conscience, if still alive, stirs uneasily. Can love ever demand blood? This question keeps echoing through me like a test for the maturity of our time. And I wonder, is our refusal to face the reality of our own choices not the greatest form of collective repression? As if we live in a split self, we love animals but exclude them from our circle of compassion when it is convenient. If we ask physicians, experts, nutritionists, many will say it is necessary. But if they themselves had to do what they justify, would they be able to? A psyche deprived of intermediaries does not lie. That is why I believe Christ would whisper, "Compassion is the true medicine. A healer without love is like a spring without water." At the heart of our guilt, acknowledged or not, lies a lack of intimacy with what hurts. Psychoanalysis would say we run from our own shadow. Spirituality would say we run from God within. And I feel that this running makes us chronically lonely. Because when you refuse to see the soul in another, you lose access to your own. I think about how salvation never comes suddenly, not through manifestos or revolutions, but through those small decisions we make without witnesses, in the way we shop, in the way we speak, in the way we treat life that cannot answer back. Perhaps Christ would remind us, every time you choose love, the kingdom of God comes a little closer. If we pause for a moment, we will feel that He has never been far. We have simply become accustomed to seeking the divine in loud miracles instead of quiet presence. But God has always been closer than our own breath. Sometimes I feel that in the smallest acts lies the great redemption: to plant instead of cut, to feed instead of take, to protect instead of justify cruelty, to choose life over convenience. And in the most intimate part of my heart, one last message is born from Him, or from me, or from the ancient truth we both carry. I am not far. I am in the gaze of the deer, in the breath of the tree, in the tremor of your conscience, when you feel you are harming life. Wherever you love the least of your brothers, there you have encountered me. And I remain in the silence of that whisper, hushed before His gentle truth, wondering how much more we must destroy to remember that love is our deepest nature, and that every wound inflicted on the world is a wound upon ourselves. Perhaps only when our collective unconscious awakens, when the shadow is acknowledged and embraced with care, when we allow conscience to speak again as the voice of God within us, perhaps then humanity will take its true step toward healing. And until then, I will listen to this inner Christ. I will learn to love. I will learn not to harm. I will learn to be a humble child of the light. Maybe that is the only true requirement of heaven.